There's a special kind of betrayal that only family can deliver, the kind that festers because it's wrapped in years of shared history and supposed love. My name is Alina, and the source of my particular lesson in familial treachery was a 2-story duplex on the east side of town, a building I'd poured my blood, sweat, and every spare dime into for years. It wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was my declaration of independence, my nest egg, the proof that I, a perpetually scrambling to make ends meet woman, could build something solid. I bought it 5 years ago. The paint was peeling, the plumbing was questionable, and the garden looked like a science experiment gone wrong, but it had good bones. I saw the potential. I also saw my younger brother, Kai, struggling. He'd just married Jordan, and they were living in a cramped, overpriced apartment, barely making ends meet with his part-time gigs and her, well, Jordan mostly focused on her social media influencing aspirations, which hadn't quite taken off. "It's perfect, Alina," Kai had gushed when I first showed him the duplex. "Still a mess, but mine. You're amazing." "The upstairs unit is self-contained," I'd said, already formulating the offer in my head. 2 bedrooms, decent kitchen space once I fix it up. Why don't you and Jordan move in? No rent, just cover your own utilities, get on your feet, save up a deposit for your own place. Kai's eyes had welled up. "You'd do that? Really?" Jordan, standing beside him, had managed a tight smile and "That's very generous, Alina." Even then her gratitude felt a little strained, a little too polite, but I'd brushed it off. Kai was my brother. I wanted to help, so they moved in. I lived in my own tiny rental across town, pouring every spare cent and moment into renovating their unit first, then the downstairs one, which I planned to rent out to cover the mortgage. I worked double shifts at the restaurant, took on freelance graphic design projects that had me staring at a screen until 3 a.m. My diet consisted of coffee and determination, new clothes, a vacation. Those were luxuries for a different lifetime. The duplex was my priority, my sacrifice. The first year they were great. Kai would sometimes help with the heavy lifting on my renovation days for the downstairs unit. Jordan would occasionally bring me a glass of lemonade, complimenting my progress with wide, seemingly sincere eyes. "You're making it so beautiful, Alina. We're so lucky." But slowly, things began to shift. It was subtle at first. After I finished the downstairs unit and got good tenants in, the mortgage was covered, but property taxes and maintenance was still a beast. One summer, their air conditioner broke. It was an older unit, sure, but I suspected it had been run non-stop at Arctic temperatures. "Alina," Jordan had called, her voice breezy, "the AC's dead. It's like an oven up here. When can you get it fixed?" "Oh, that's not good," I'd said, already calculating the cost. "Did you try resetting the breaker or checking the filter?" A pause. No, that sounds complicated. It's your unit, so we figured you'd handle it." I bit back a sigh. "Okay, I'll call a repairman." It cost me $600 I didn't really have. They didn't offer to chip in. When I gently suggested that maybe they could be a bit more mindful of its usage, Jordan had looked affronted. "We pay our utilities, Alina. We should be able to be comfortable." Then there was the time Kai mentioned they were thinking of getting a dog, a big one, in my newly renovated unit with its freshly polished original hardwood floors. "A dog?" I'd asked, trying to keep my voice even. "Kai, we talked about this. The lease agreement for the other tenants is no pets, and I'd prefer to keep it consistent. Plus, the potential for damage." "Oh, come on, Alina," he'd wheedled. "It's practically our home. Jordan's always wanted a golden retriever." "It is my home, Kai, my investment, and the answer is no, not right now." He'd sulked for a week, and Jordan had been icily polite the next time I saw her. Life has a way of just happening. I got busier with my own career, slowly climbing the ladder at a marketing firm. The tenants downstairs were quiet and paid on time. Kai and Jordan seemed settled. I'd drop by for holidays, birthdays, we'd exchange texts. "Everything good?" I'd ask Kai. "Yep, all quiet here, sis," he'd reply. He was always cheerful, if a bit vague. Jordan rarely initiated contact. I figured they were just living their lives, hopefully saving money, making plans. I trusted them. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was just too exhausted from building my own life to scrutinize theirs too closely. It had been a few months since I'd last dropped by. With a rare Saturday off, I figured, why not? I grabbed a coffee and headed over, a little niggle of something I couldn't name sitting in my stomach. The little niggle in my stomach grew as I pulled up to the duplex. From the outside, everything looked the same. My sensible, slightly faded blue paint job. The neat, if uninspired flower beds I'd planted along the walkway. I walked up the steps to their unit, number 2, and noticed the front door was ajar, just a crack. That was unusual. Kai was usually so particular about locking up. I could hear noises from inside, a rhythmic thumping and a low hum, like some kind of industrial fan. Not sounds I associated with my brother's usual weekend routine of video games and napping. "Kai, Jordan," I called out, pushing the door open a little further. The sight that greeted me stopped me dead in my tracks. My coffee cup slipped from my fingers, splashing lukewarm liquid down my jeans and onto the pristine, new light oak flooring that definitely hadn't been there before. The entire front living area was different. Walls had been moved. Where my cosy, slightly worn but perfectly functional kitchen once stood, there was now an open-plan monstrosity. Gleaming white cabinets reached to the ceiling, accented with brushed gold hardware. A massive island topped with a slab of what looked suspiciously like Carrara marble dominated the centre of the room. Stainless steel appliances, the kind with digital displays and price tags that made my eyes water, were built into the custom cabinetry. It looked like something out of a glossy magazine, a style so far removed from my own practical taste, it was almost comical. I stumbled forward, my mind struggling to process. The thumping was coming from further back. I walked, as if in a dream, past the alien kitchen towards the main bathroom. The door was open, more marble, a freestanding soaking tub I knew for a fact cost more than my first car, a rainfall showerhead the size of a dinner plate. "Oh, good, you're here!" Jordan's voice, bright and cheerful, cut through my daze. She emerged from the master bedroom not in her usual yoga pants and oversized hoodie, but in a stylish linen jumpsuit, her hair perfectly coiffed. She was beaming, a wide, self-satisfied smile plastered on her face. She held a sleek, leather-bound folder in her hands. What is all this?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. "Surprise," she chirped, gesturing around with a flourish. "We knew you've been so busy, Alina, and this place was just... well, it was a bit dated, wasn't it? So Kai and I decided to take the initiative. A little refresh. This was a gut job, a 6-figure top-to-bottom, no-expense-spared demolition and reconstruction." She stepped closer, her smile unwavering, and pressed the folder into my numb hands. "Here are all the invoices. We kept meticulous records. It came in just under 100,000. Not bad, right, for a full high-end remodel?" I stared at her, speechless. $100,000. She said it like she was announcing the score of a particularly good round of golf. "You can afford it, Alina," she continued, her tone now slightly patronizing, as if explaining something to a slow child. "And it's your house anyway. It needed an update. Think of the equity." Kai chose that moment to shuffle in from the hallway, looking sheepish, but also expectant. He wouldn't quite meet my eye. "Jordan," I finally found my voice, which came out hoarse. "What have you done?" "We've improved your investment, Alina," she said, puffing up slightly. "You should be thanking us." "Thanking you?" I repeated, the words catching in my throat. The shock was starting to wear off, replaced by a wave of icy fury that began in my toes and rose, chilling me to the bone. You spent nearly $100,000 on unauthorized renovations in my house, and you expect me to thank you and pay for it. Kai finally spoke, his voice defensive. Well, yeah, it's your property. It benefits you in the long run. Don't be so stingy, Alina. We did all the hard work of managing the contractors and picking everything out. Stingy, he called me stingy, after 5 years of rent-free living, after I'd sacrificed and saved to give them a leg up. The audacity was a physical blow. I could feel the blood draining from my face, then rushing back with a heat that made my ears burn. I looked from Kai's evasive face to Jordan's smug, confident one. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rage. I wanted to throw that ridiculously expensive marble-topped island through the brand-new picture window. Instead, a strange calm descended. A very cold, very clear calm. I closed my mouth, took a slow breath, and looked down at the folder in my hands. I didn't open it. I see, I said, my voice devoid of any emotion I was actually feeling. I need to process this. Jordan, seeing my stunned silence, added with a condescending smile, We even picked out finishes we knew you'd love. Eventually, consider it our gift to your portfolio. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a calculated move. A deliberate, entitled, breathtakingly arrogant heist. I have to go, I said quietly, turning on my heel. I walked out, leaving them standing in the opulent ruin of what used to be my sensible, carefully managed investment property. The smell of fresh paint and new grout followed me out the door, smelling like betrayal. The drive back to my own small, slightly cluttered apartment was a blur. The cold calm I'd managed to project in front of Kai and Jordan shattered the moment I closed my front door behind me. I sank onto my sofa, the leather folder still clutched in my hand, and the numbness gave way to a tremor that started in my hands and spread through my whole body. Betrayal. It was a raw physical ache in my chest. I replayed the scene over and over. Jordan's beaming face, Kai's mumbled accusation of me being stingy, the sheer, unadulterated gall of it. They hadn't just crossed a line, they'd bulldozed it, paved it over with marble and sent me the bill. How could they think this was okay? How could Kai, my own brother, stand by and let this happen, even participate? The hurt was a sharp, jagged thing. 5 years. 5 years I'd given them a home, a chance to build their future, and this was how they repaid me. Then a different thought began to surface through the pain. This wasn't impulsive. That level of renovation, the contractors, the specific high-end choices, it had to have been planned. Meticulously. I remembered an offhand comment Jordan had made months ago during a rare family dinner. "We're just bursting at the seams in that little kitchen," she'd sighed dramatically, swirling her wine. "It's impossible to entertain properly." At the time, I'd dismissed it as typical Jordan hyperbole. Now it felt like a breadcrumb. I grabbed my laptop. Jordan was obsessed with her online image, but her public social media was all carefully curated lifestyle shots. Nothing that would reveal a major renovation in a home that wasn't technically hers to renovate. Then I remembered Kai mentioning, with a roll of his eyes, Jordan's endless vision boards and digital scrapbooks. She used one of those cloud storage services, the one with the cutesy animal logo. It was a long shot, a desperate, ethically murky stab in the dark. I knew their wedding anniversary. I knew the name of the fluffy white cat Snowball that Jordan doted on, and that I'd expressly forbidden in the unit, a rule clearly ignored. I tried a few combinations: anniversary date plus Snowball, Snowball plus anniversary. Then Snowball followed by their wedding year. Bingo. I was in. My heart hammered against my ribs. A folder list appeared. Most were innocuous. Vacation ideas, recipe collection, influencer collabs, dreaming. And then there it was, our dream home project. My breath hitched. I clicked it open. It was all there, subfolders meticulously organised. Kitchen inspiration, bathroom finishes, contractor quotes. There were invoices, dozens of them, already paid from an account I didn't recognise. Probably joint savings they'd been siphoning into this instead of, say, a down payment on their own place. There were architectural drawings, detailed plans for my duplex unit, transforming it into their palace. And then the final damning piece of evidence, an email draft in a subfolder titled Comms. It was addressed to one of the main contractors, dated 6 months prior. It was from Jordan. Regarding payment, it read, "We will be managing the initial deposits. The final balance will be settled by the property owner, my sister-in-law Alina, once the project is complete and she is presented with the full scope of the value-adding upgrade. She's very supportive of us making the space our own. Supportive, value-adding upgrade." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely control the mouse. They hadn't just overstepped. They hadn't just been thoughtless or entitled. They had actively, deliberately, and with months of premeditation, conspired to defraud me. They'd planned to spring this on me, counting on my shock, my desire to avoid family conflict, or perhaps my supposed wealth, to bully me into paying for their fantasy. The hurt didn't disappear, but it was now overlaid with something else, a cold, hard fury, a steely resolve that settled deep in my bones. They wanted to play me for a fool. They thought I'd just roll over. I picked up my phone, my fingers surprisingly steady as I dialed. "Amara," I said when my best friend answered, "you are not going to believe what just happened." I laid it all out, the surprise visit, the marble monstrosity, the folder of bills, Kai's accusation. Amara listened, punctuated by gasps and horrified silences. "No freaking way," she breathed when I finished. "Alina, that's grand larceny with a side of delusion." "Tell me about it," I said, the cold anger making my voice flat. "And I found their plans, Amara, online. They've been plotting this for at least 6 months. Okay, deep breaths," Amara said, her voice instantly shifting into practical, supportive mode. "First, you are not paying a single cent, not one. Second, you need a lawyer, like yesterday." "I know," I said. The thought had already begun to form. "I know a guy," Amara said. "Stephen Norris. He's a shark, but he's fair. Specialises in property and contract disputes. He'll eat them for breakfast." Staring at their secret plans, the betrayal was a fresh stab. They hadn't just overstepped. They'd conspired. My desire for simple repayment morphed into something colder, more calculated. They wanted to play games? Fine. I'd learn the rules. I booked an appointment with Stephen Norris for Monday morning. Stephen Norris's office was all sleek lines and muted tones, a stark contrast to the chaos raging inside me. He was a man in his late 40s, sharp eyes, sharper suit, and a handshake that meant business. I laid out the whole sordid tale, from my initial offer of a rent-free haven to the marble-clad ambush, and the damning contents of Jordan's Dream Home Project folder, copies of which I'd printed and brought with me. He listened intently, occasionally jotting down a note, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Miss Henderson," he began, his voice calm and measured, "your brother and sister-in-law have, to put it mildly, acted egregiously. They had no legal right to make alterations of that magnitude without your explicit written consent, and they certainly have no legal standing to demand you pay for said alterations." A small knot of tension I hadn't realised I was holding loosened in my chest. "So, I don't have to pay?" "Absolutely not," Stephen confirmed. "In fact, you have several avenues here. You could sue them for the cost of restoring the property to its original condition if that's what you wished. You could evict them for breach of your verbal tenancy agreement. Their unauthorized renovations constitute a significant breach. He paused. Or you could explore other resolutions. The idea of simply evicting them and suing for damages was tempting, a quick, clean cut. But then I thought of Jordan's smug face, Kai's accusation. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the audacity, the sheer, unmitigated entitlement. "What kind of other resolutions?" I asked. Stephen's lips curved into a slight, almost imperceptible smile. "Well, they've significantly, if illegally, increased the value of your asset. We could certainly leverage that." I left his office an hour later, a plan beginning to take shape, a cold, satisfying counter-offensive. He'd given me clarity and, more importantly, a sense of control I hadn't felt since I'd walked into that renovated nightmare. Meanwhile, back in their marble palace, Kai and Jordan were clearly growing impatient. A few days after my visit, Jordan's text started. "Hey Alina, just wondering about that reno payment. The contractor for the countertops is asking about the final installment. Let me know when you can transfer." The smiley face was particularly galling. I ignored it. 2 days later, another one. "Alina, seriously, we need to get these bills paid. It's starting to get awkward. Can you at least give us a timeline?" I continued to ignore them. Let them sweat. Let them wonder. Then photos started appearing on my cousin Sarah's social media feed. Kai and Jordan beaming, hosting a small dinner party in their new kitchen. Gleaming marble, artfully arranged charcuterie board, Jordan raising a champagne flute. The caption, "Housewarming, kinda, at Kai and Jordan's gorgeous new place. So jelly, erst schon new kitchen vibes on dream home." My jaw tightened. They were already showing it off, claiming it as their own, before I'd even agreed to foot the bill they'd fraudulently run up in my name. The nerve was boundless. Then came the call I'd been dreading, but also expecting. My mother, Nancy. "Alina, darling," she began, her voice laced with that familiar tone of gentle persuasion she used when she wanted me to smooth over family ripples. "Kai called. He's very upset. He said there's been a misunderstanding about some work they did on the house." "A misunderstanding, Mom?" I kept my voice carefully neutral. "They gutted my property and expect me to pay $100,000 for renovations. I never approved." "That's not a misunderstanding. That's a demand." "Oh, Alina, don't be so dramatic," she sighed. "He said Jordan got a bit carried away, but their intentions were good. It does look lovely from what he described. Can't you just sort this out? It's family. Perhaps pay half, or work out a payment plan with them. For peace' sake." I could hear Kai's one-sided, woe-is-me version of events echoing in her words. He'd conveniently left out the premeditated planning, the secret folders, the sheer scale of the deception. "Mum, there's more to this than Kai is telling you," I said, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. "I'm looking into it. I'll handle it." "Well, I hope so, dear. Family is too important to let silly things like money come between you. Silly things like money, like $100,000 of my money they'd spent without my permission." I hung up, feeling a fresh wave of anger, not just at Kai and Jordan, but at the way my family always seemed to expect me to be the accommodating one, the one to absorb the costs, emotional or financial. The next day, another text from Jordan. This one took the cake. "Hey, so we were thinking, since the main bath turned out so well, we should probably do the guest bathroom to match. Keep the flow, you know? What are your thoughts on a clawfoot tub? You'd love it. We found a great one, only a few grand. Let me know if you want the link. XOXO." The sheer, unadulterated, gold-plated nerve of it almost made me laugh. Almost. They were already planning phase 2 of their hostile takeover of my finances and my property. They truly believed they were going to get away with it. They had no idea what was coming. The first step in my counter-offensive was to get an official valuation. On Stephen Norris's recommendation, I contacted Leah Jensen, a certified appraiser. I met her at a coffee shop near her office, not at the duplex. I didn't want Kai and Jordan getting wind of anything yet. So the situation is a little unusual, I began, handing Leah a coffee. My tenants, who are family, unfortunately, undertook extensive renovations without my consent. They're very high-end. Leah raised an eyebrow. Unauthorized renovations? That's a messy one. Are we talking new paint or something more substantial? Marble countertops, new layout, luxury appliances, the works, I said. Professionally done, from what I can tell, just entirely unapproved and unbudgeted by me. I see, she said, tapping her pen on her notepad. And you need an appraisal reflecting the current state of the property, including these additions? Exactly, I confirmed. As is. I need to know what it's worth now with all their, improvements. Leah was discreet and efficient. She visited the property a few days later, while Kai and Jordan were presumably at their respective day jobs, or, in Jordan's case, curating content. I'd given her a key. She called me that afternoon. Well, Alina, Leah said, a note of surprise in her voice. Your tenants certainly have expensive taste, and they hired competent, if presumptuous, contractors. The workmanship is surprisingly good for an unauthorized job. The value of your property has increased significantly. She emailed me the official report later that day. The numbers were staggering. The duplex unit, with its unwanted but undeniably luxurious makeover, was now valued at nearly $150,000 more than I'd paid for the entire building 5 years ago. My jaw tightened. They'd spent close to $100,000 of their, or soon-to-be my, money, and, in doing so, had gifted me a substantial bump in equity. The irony was almost painful, yet deeply satisfying. Armed with this concrete valuation, the next phase of my plan clicked into place. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Kai. His voice, when I answered, was dripping with a syrupy, unfamiliar remorse. Alina, hey, sis, listen, I wanted to apologize about the house and everything. I waited, saying nothing. I could hear faint whispering in the background. Jordan, no doubt, coaching him. Jordan, well, she gets these ideas, you know, and she just runs with them. She got a bit carried away. We both did. We're really sorry if it caused you any stress. Stress? That was one word for it. Financial ruin was another. We were thinking, he continued, the false sincerity practically oozing through the phone. Maybe we could talk, properly, about the renovations. Maybe we can contribute a little something towards it. You know, help out with the cost. A little something after they'd presented me with a bill for $100,000. The whispering in the background got a little louder, more insistent. Jordan was clearly feeding him lines. This wasn't an apology. It was a pathetic attempt to gauge my reaction, to see if I was softening, to perhaps trick me into committing to pay something, anything, so they could claim I'd agreed. I almost laughed. Instead, I kept my voice cool, non-committal. Of course, Kai, we should definitely talk. It's a significant situation. Great, he said, relief evident in his tone. When are you free? We can come over to your place, or... Actually, I interjected smoothly, why don't you both come over to the house next Saturday, say around 11? We can discuss its future then. The house? Oh, yeah, sure, that works, he said, a little surprised. He probably expected me to be avoiding the scene of the crime. We'll be there. Perfect, I said. I'll see you both then. I hung up, a grim smile playing on my lips. They thought they were reeling me in. They had no idea they were swimming straight into the net. The next week was a flurry of activity. I met with Stephen Norris again. We went over the appraisal, the figures, the strategy. He was thorough, his legal mind dissecting every angle. By the end of our second meeting, we had 2 documents drafted, printed on crisp, official-looking paper. The first was a new lease agreement, a standard rental contract, but with one crucial difference: the monthly rent. It was calculated based on the current fair market value for a newly renovated luxury 2-bedroom unit in that neighbourhood, a figure significantly higher than my mortgage, property taxes and insurance combined, a figure I knew they couldn't possibly afford. The second document was an offer of sale, a straightforward proposal for them to purchase the unit from me. The price, the new, much higher appraised value, reflecting all their hard work and investment. I placed both documents into a neat manila folder. I sent the calendar invite through email. Meeting to discuss property matters. Simple, formal. Let them think they were about to get what they wanted. Let them walk in, confident and smug, ready for me to finally cave. The anticipation was a tight coil in my stomach, but it wasn't anxiety, it was the thrill of the hunt. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect backdrop for the storm I was about to unleash. I arrived at the duplex a good hour before Kai and Jordan were due, the manila folder heavy in my tote bag. I let myself into their unit, my unit, using the key I still had. The air still smelled faintly of new paint and expensive wood. I walked through the transformed space, my footsteps echoing on the light oak floors. The marble countertops gleamed under the recessed lighting. It was undeniably beautiful, in a cold, show-home kind of way, a monument to their audacity. I felt surprisingly calm. The weeks of anger, hurt, and meticulous planning had distilled into a cold, clear focus. I knew exactly what I was going to do, exactly what I was going to say. There was no room for doubt, no space for wavering. I made myself a cup of tea using their ridiculously high-tech kettle, the kind that could probably launch a rocket if you pressed the wrong button, and sat at the huge marble island. I arranged the documents from my folder neatly in front of me, waiting. At precisely 11 o'clock, I heard their car pull up, footsteps on the stairs, a knock on the door they now treated as their own. "Come in," I called out, my voice even. Kai entered first, looking nervous, his eyes darting around as if expecting a trap. Jordan followed, and any nervousness she might have felt was expertly masked by that familiar, infuriatingly smug expression. She was dressed impeccably, of course, in some sort of cream-coloured cashmere sweater and perfectly tailored trousers. She looked like she owned the place, which, in her mind, I suppose she did. "Alina, hi," Jordan chirped, her smile wide and a little too bright. "Thanks for having us over. So glad we can finally sort this all out." "Kai, Jordan," I greeted them, my tone polite, almost bland. "Please, have a seat." I gestured to the new bar stools tucked under the island. They sat, Kai perching uneasily on the edge of his stool, Jordan settling in with an air of expectation. She glanced at the folder in front of me, a flicker of something triumph in her eyes. She probably thought it contained a cheque, or at least a payment plan proposal heavily weighted in her favour. "Coffee?" I offered, playing the gracious hostess in their stolen palace. "Oh, no, thank you. We're fine," Jordan said, waving a dismissive hand. "We just had brunch." Of course they did, probably at some trendy spot celebrating their impending victory. An awkward silence descended for a moment. I let it hang there, watching them. Kai fidgeted with the strap of his watch. Jordan examined her perfectly manicured nails. Finally, Jordan broke the silence, unable to resist guiding the conversation. "So," she began, leaning forward slightly, her voice conspiratorial, "this place, right? It's just amazing now. Don't you think? It finally feels like a real home." I met her gaze. "It's certainly different," I said, my voice carefully neutral. "Different in a good way," she pressed. All the agents say kitchens and bathrooms sell houses, Alina. We've basically future-proofed your investment. That marble, Italian, and the appliances are all top of the line, energy efficient too. She rattled off brand names and features as if she were a salesperson on commission. Kai chimed in, emboldened by Jordan's confidence. Yeah, Alina, we put a lot of thought into it, a lot of work. Those contractors weren't easy to manage, let me tell you. I nodded slowly, letting them talk, letting them dig their own graves a little deeper. I even managed a small, non-committal hum of agreement when Jordan pointed out a particularly hideous and undoubtedly expensive light fixture they'd chosen for the dining area. Yes, I said when they finally paused for breath, you've certainly put a lot of work into making it unique. The anticipation in the room was thick enough to spread on toast. They were practically vibrating with it, waiting for me to acknowledge their brilliance, their foresight, and, most importantly, to open my checkbook. Jordan's smug smile was fixed in place. Kai looked like a kid waiting for a promised treat. I let a small, almost imperceptible smile play on my lips. Well, I began, placing my hand on the manila folder, my fingers brushing against the crisp edges of the documents within. I paused, drawing out the moment, savouring the shift in the air as their expectant smiles wavered slightly, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. I've given this a lot of thought, I continued, my voice calm and steady. A great deal of thought, and I've made some decisions regarding the house and your substantial contributions to its value. I looked them both directly in the eye, first Kai, then Jordan, holding their gaze for a beat longer than comfortable. The air in the ridiculously opulent kitchen crackled. First, I said, my voice even and cold, sliding a glossy, professionally bound document across the marble island towards them. I want to thank you. Your unauthorized yet extensive renovations have significantly increased the market value of my property. I tapped the cover of the document. This is the official appraisal report conducted last week. I watched their faces. Kai frowned, looking confused. Jordan's smug smile widened a fraction, a predatory gleam in her eyes. She clearly thought this was the prelude to me capitulating, perhaps even offering them a bonus for their vision. She reached for the report. So, I continued, my voice dropping a notch, losing any hint of warmth it might have feigned earlier. I slid a second document across the island, this one a standard legal form. Effective the 1st of next month, your rent will be adjusted to reflect the current luxury market rate for such a beautifully renovated home. I paused, letting the words sink in. That will be $3,500 per month. Their smiles vanished, instantly, utterly. Jordan's jaw quite literally dropped. Her perfectly lipsticked mouth hung open in a silent O of disbelief. Kai went pale, his eyes widening as he stared at the new lease agreement I'd just presented. Before either of them could recover enough to speak, I pressed on, my voice like ice. Or, of course, I added, sliding a third document, the purchase offer, towards them. You have another option. You can purchase the property from me. I gave them a thin, humourless smile. Given your substantial investment and clear emotional attachment to the place, it only seems fair to offer it to you first. I tapped the purchase offer. The price, based on the new appraisal which reflects all your wonderful upgrades, is $475,000. Silence. A thick, stunned, suffocating silence filled the room. The only sound was the faint hum of the brand new top-of-the-line refrigerator. Then chaos erupted. "What?" Jordan finally shrieked, her voice cracking. She shot to her feet, knocking her bar stool slightly askew. "You can't do that! $3,500 a month? Are you insane?" "It's the current market rate, Jordan," I replied calmly, though my heart was hammering. "For a unit of this quality, in this location, with these finishes. Your finishes, I might add." But we did all the work!" Kai stammered, his face a mask of bewildered outrage. "We paid for it. You can't just charge us rent on our own improvements." "Actually, Kai, you made improvements to my property," I corrected him, my voice still level. "Improvements I never asked for, never approved, and certainly never agreed to pay for. You presented me with a bill for nearly $100,000. I'm merely adjusting the terms of your tenancy to reflect the new reality you've created." "This is outrageous! It's unfair!" Jordan was practically screaming now, her face flushed an ugly red that clashed horribly with her cashmere sweater. "We're family. You're supposed to help us, not extort us." "Extort you?" I raised an eyebrow. "I believe you were the ones who presented me with an unexpected 6-figure bill after conducting major renovations without my permission. I'm offering you choices. Pay the fair market rent for the luxury apartment you've designed for yourselves, or buy it at its fair market value. A value, I remind you, that you yourselves established with your contributions." Kai was shaking his head, looking utterly defeated. We don't have that kind of money, Alina. You know that. We can't afford that rent. We can't afford to buy it." His voice was a desperate whisper. "Then perhaps you should have considered that before you decided to play real estate developer with my assets," I said, my patience wearing thin. The cold fury was back, bubbling just beneath the surface of my calm demeanour. Jordan screeched, "You're evil, Alina! This is our home!" Her eyes blazed with a mixture of fury and panic. I met her furious gaze unflinching. "No, Jordan, this is my house, which you treated like your personal ATM and showroom. You made your choices when you forged ahead with this ridiculous, unauthorized renovation. You made your choices when you expected me to just gratefully pay for your lavish tastes. Now you have new ones to make." I stood up, collecting my copy of the documents. "You have 30 days to either sign the new lease agreement or accept the purchase offer. If neither of those options works for you, you have 30 days to vacate the premises." I walked towards the door, leaving them standing there, amidst the splendour they had so arrogantly created, their faces a mixture of shock, disbelief, and dawning horror. The silence that followed my ultimatum was more satisfying than any shouting match could ever have been. The 30 days that followed my ultimatum were a maelstrom. My phone blew up with panicked calls from Kai, his voice alternating between pleading and accusing. "Alina, you can't be serious. We'll be homeless. How could you do this to your own brother?" Jordan, after her initial outburst, resorted to a barrage of texts. They started demanding, "You will regret this, Alina. We have rights." Then shifted to bargaining. Okay, what if we pay you back for the reno over time? Like a tiny bit each month, and you keep the rent the same." And finally devolved into desperate, tearful pleas. "Please, Alina, we made a mistake. A huge mistake. Don't do this to us. We'll do anything." They tried to rally the family, of course. My mother, Nancy, called again, her voice tight with distress. "Alina, Philip and I are very concerned. Kai is beside himself. Jordan is a wreck. Can't you find it in your heart to compromise? They're offering to pay you back eventually. This time I was prepared." "Mom," I said calmly, "did Kai tell you they'd been planning this for over 6 months? Did he show you the Dream Home Project folder Jordan kept, detailing how they were going to present me with the bill for their upgrade?" Silence on the other end of the line. "I'm emailing you copies, Mom, you and Dad, so you can see the full picture." I sent them the evidence, the invoices, the email drafts, the whole sordid plan. When Mom called back later, her tone was subdued. "Oh, Alina, I had no idea it was so calculated." She still tried a weak, "But they're young, they make mistakes." But the conviction was gone. Even she couldn't defend this level of premeditated deceit. Philip, true to form, said little, but I could tell he was shocked. Kai and Jordan scrambled. They couldn't afford the new rent, not even close. and getting a mortgage for nearly $500,000, especially when they were already carrying the secret debt from the contractors they'd hired for my house, was an impossibility. Their frantic attempts to find a financial loophole, a sympathetic lender, or a rich relative to bail them out all failed. On the 29th day, a moving truck pulled up to the duplex. I didn't go over. I didn't need to. My lawyer had already informed theirs that I expected the property to be left in pristine condition, as per the terms of their original, albeit verbal and now thoroughly violated, agreement. They complied, probably on legal advice or perhaps holding on to a sliver of hope that a demonstration of good behaviour might make me relent at the 11th hour. I didn't. Amara helped me do the final walkthrough after they'd gone. The place was immaculate, spotless. Every marble surface gleamed. Every high-end appliance shone. It was also eerily empty, stripped of all their personal belongings, all traces of their occupancy. All that remained was the monument to their greed and my victory. "Wow," Amara breathed, looking around the cavernous, empty kitchen. "They really did a number on this place. Expensive, but wow." "Yep," I said, running a hand over the cool marble island. "And now it's going to make me a tidy profit." I put the unit on the rental market the very next day, at the full $3,500 rate. It was snapped up in less than a week by a young doctor and her architect husband who adored the modern luxurious finishes. They signed a 2-year lease. The last I heard, through the family grapevine, Kai and Jordan were crammed into a tiny, run-down one-bedroom apartment on the other side of town, the kind of place they'd probably sneered at 5 years ago. Their relationship, already strained by Jordan's expensive tastes and Kai's spinelessness, was reportedly crumbling under the weight of their self-inflicted financial disaster and the mountain of debt they still owed to the contractors. Apparently, those meticulous records Jordan kept didn't extend to actually paying all the final bills once it became clear I wasn't going to. My relationship with Kai is fractured, maybe irreparably. He avoids my calls and family gatherings are tense. My parents are still walking on eggshells around me, a mixture of residual disappointment in Kai and a new wary respect for me. It's not perfect, but a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. I stood up for myself. I drew a line in the sand, and when they stomped all over it in diamond-studded stilettos, I made them pay the price. The financial gain from the increased rent is undeniably satisfying. It's more than covering the mortgage and expenses. It's actually building my savings at a rate I'd only dreamed of. But the real satisfaction, the deep, quiet hum of contentment, comes from the karma. They thought they were so clever, so entitled, so much smarter than hard-working, sensible Alina. They thought they could take and then demand more. Instead, they dug their own gold-plated ditch, and I simply handed them the shovels and let them lie in it. Some might call it harsh, but as I cashed that first new rent check, all I could think was that they had every chance to be grateful, to be respectful, to be decent. Instead, they chose greed. And greed, as they learned, has a very steep price, especially when you try to send the bill to someone else.
I was cleaning Lila's room when I found it, a small black device nestled inside her favorite teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles. At first, I thought it was just a loose button or maybe some stuffing coming out. But when I pulled at the tiny black speck, a wire came with it. My hands trembled as I examined the device, a miniature microphone, professionally made, deliberately planted. My name is Aubrey, and until this moment, I thought I knew what betrayal felt like. I was wrong. "Mommy, is Mr. Snuggles okay?" Lila stood in the doorway, her 9-year-old face pinched with concern. I quickly tucked the microphone into my pocket, forcing a smile. "Just fixing a loose seam, sweetie. He'll be good as new." She nodded, relief washing over her features. Can I take him to Grandma Martha's tomorrow? She said she'd teach me how to make chocolate chip cookies. My stomach clenched. Martha. Of course it was Martha. Who else would go this far? Who else would violate our privacy, our home, our daughter's innocence? Actually, honey, I think we should postpone the visit. Mr. Snuggles needs surgery. The lie tasted bitter on my tongue, but it was better than the truth. But Grandma's expecting me. Lila's lower lip trembled. I know, I'll call her myself. I pulled Lila close, breathing in the sweet scent of her strawberry shampoo. Why don't you go finish your homework? I'll bring Mr. Snuggles down when he's all fixed up. Once Lila left, I methodically took apart the teddy bear, searching for more devices. There weren't any, but that didn't make me feel better. If Martha had planted one here, where else had she invaded our lives? I heard the front door open. Nathan was home. My husband's footsteps echoed through the house, followed by his usual call, anyone home? Upstairs, I responded, my voice steadier than I felt. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. His smile faltered when he saw the dismembered teddy bear. What happened here? I held up the microphone. Your mother happened. What are you talking about? He stepped closer, frowning. That could be anything. Where did you find it? Inside our daughter's teddy bear, Nathan. The one your mother gave her for her birthday. He took the device, turning it over in his hands. You can't just assume. Who else would do this? I stood up, anger finally breaking through my shock. Who else has been trying to control our lives since the day we got married? Keep your voice down, Nathan hissed, glancing toward the hallway. Lila will hear you. Like someone hasn't been hearing everything already? I snatched the microphone back. Your mother crossed a line, Nathan. She's been crossing lines for years, but this? This is illegal. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. Now it just seemed weak. You need to calm down. There has to be a reasonable explanation. Reasonable? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell me what's reasonable about bugging our 9-year-old's bedroom. We don't know it was her. Then who? He had no answer for that. Of course he didn't. We both knew the truth, but only one of us was willing to face it. I gathered the pieces of Mr. Snuggles, my mind already racing ahead. If Martha had gone this far, what else had she done? What else was she capable of? I'm calling my father, I said quietly. Aubrey, don't. He's a lawyer, Nathan. And right now, I need someone on my side. I pushed past him, still clutching the violated teddy bear. Because it's becoming very clear where you stand. As I walked away, I heard him call after me, what are you going to do? I stopped but didn't turn around. I'm going to find every bug she planted. I'm going to document everything. And then, Nathan? Then I'm going to make your mother wish she'd never decided to play this game. I spent the night searching our house, room by room, while Nathan slept on the couch. By morning, I'd found 2 more listening devices, one behind the kitchen clock, another taped under our bedroom dresser. Each discovery felt like a fresh slap across my face. The sun was barely up when my phone buzzed. Martha's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Aubrey, dear. Her voice dripped honey. I heard Lila won't be coming over today. Is everything all right? I gripped the phone tighter, picturing her sitting in her immaculate living room, probably wearing one of those pastel cardigans she loved so much. Mr. Snuggles needed some repairs. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? A pause. Just long enough. I'm not sure what you mean. No? Strange. Because I found something interesting inside him yesterday. Something that doesn't belong in a child's toy. Oh. Another pause. Perhaps we should discuss this over coffee? I made those scones you like. I prefer to have conversations without an audience, Martha. The honey in her voice hardened. I'm worried about you, dear. Nathan mentioned you've been stressed lately. Spending a lot of time on your phone. Coming home late from work. My blood ran cold. So that's her game. Is that what Nathan said? A mother notices these things. We care about our children's happiness. Yes, we do. I watched Lila through the kitchen window, getting into Nathan's car for school. That's exactly why this conversation isn't over. I hung up before she could respond. Nathan came in, adjusting his tie. Was that my mother? Checking why Lila isn't coming over. I held up the bug from the kitchen clock. Want to explain why you've been discussing our marriage with her? He sighed, reaching for the coffee pot. She's concerned, Aubrey. We all are. You've been different lately. Different? I laughed. You mean since I discovered our house is bugged? Since I realized my husband's been reporting on me to his mother? Don't twist this around. He set his mug down hard enough to splash coffee. You're the one staying late at work, always on your phone. I'm working overtime because we're short-staffed. You know this. You know everything about my schedule because I tell you everything. My voice cracked. When did you stop trusting me? When did you start seeing everything as a conspiracy? He grabbed his briefcase. Maybe Mom's right. Maybe you need help. The words hit like physical blows. Help? Your mother is spying on us, manipulating you, and I need help? Look at yourself. He gestured at the dismantled clock, the scattered drawers. You're tearing our house apart. Because it's already torn apart. We're being watched, Nathan. Our daughter is being watched. How can you not see how wrong this is? He moved toward the door, shaking his head. I'm late for work. We'll talk about this later. No, we won't. I blocked his path. Because later, you'll have already called your mother, and she'll have told you exactly what to think. Something flickered in his eyes, doubt, maybe guilt. But it vanished quickly. Move, Aubrey. I stepped aside, watching him leave. Through the window, I saw him pause at his car, phone already at his ear. I knew who he was calling. My own phone buzzed, a text from my father, got your message. Coming over now. I looked around our violated home at the evidence of Martha's intrusion scattered across the counter. Nathan thought I was paranoid, seeing conspiracies. But as I picked up another bug, this one from behind a family photo, I realized something worse than paranoia. I'd been blind. Blind to Martha's manipulation, to Nathan's weakness, to the slow erosion of my marriage. Well, I wasn't blind anymore. And Martha was about to learn that she wasn't the only one who could play the long game. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Hello? A familiar voice answered. Sarah? It's Aubrey. Remember that favor you owe me? I need access to the security company's client records. Specifically, anyone who's purchased surveillance equipment in the last 6 months. Because if Martha wanted to spy on me, it was time to find out exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. Sarah's information proved more damning than I'd imagined. Martha hadn't just bought surveillance equipment, she'd hired a private investigator. 3 months of surveillance, all meticulously documented. My stomach churned as I spread the papers across my father's dining room table. She's been following me. My hands shook as I showed Henry the surveillance photos. Me at work, at the grocery store, having coffee with colleagues. Look at the dates, this started right after I refused to let her redecorate our house. Henry adjusted his reading glasses, his jaw tightening. This goes beyond harassment, Aubrey. This is criminal behavior. Dad, there's more. I pulled out my phone, showing him the text from our neighbor, Carol. Martha's been telling people I'm having an affair with my boss. That's why she hired the PI to prove it. That explains Nathan's behavior. Henry's voice was gentle, but his eyes were steel. She's poisoning him against you. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Nathan's car in the driveway. My father squeezed my shoulder before going to answer it. Where's my wife? Nathan's voice carried from the foyer. Her car's been here all day. Lower your voice, Henry warned. You're in my house now. They entered the dining room, Nathan freezing when he saw the scattered surveillance photos. What is this? Your mother's handiwork. I held up a photo of me and my boss having lunch at a cafe. Tell me, Nathan, when she showed you these, did she mention it was a team lunch? That there were 6 other people at the table? He stepped closer, picking up photo after photo. These are from a PI? 3 months of surveillance. All because I wouldn't let her redesign our home. I laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. She's been spreading rumors about me, Nathan. Telling everyone I'm unfaithful. And you believed her. I didn't, he stopped, color draining from his face as he found the PI's detailed reports. She said she was worried about you. That you were acting suspicious. And that justified spying on your wife? Bugging our daughter's room? The front door opened again. Nathan? Are you here? Martha's voice, sickeningly sweet. In here, Mother. Nathan's voice cracked on the word. She appeared in the doorway, perfectly coiffed in her pale blue sweater set. Her smile faltered when she saw the photos. What's all this? Don't. Nathan held up a hand. Just. Don't. Darling, I can explain. Explain what? I stood, fury burning away my fear. How you hired someone to follow me. How you planted listening devices in my home. How you've been telling everyone I'm cheating on your son. I was protecting my family. Her mask slipped, revealing something ugly beneath. You've never been good enough for Nathan. I had to make him see. See what? Nathan interrupted. That you're willing to destroy my marriage? My daughter's security? Everything I did for you. No. His voice was quiet, defeated. You did it for yourself. Martha stepped toward him, but Henry moved between them. I think you should leave, Martha. Unless you'd prefer to explain your actions to the police? She straightened, smoothing her sweater. You're all overreacting. Nathan, come with me. We'll discuss this at home. But Nathan wasn't looking at her. He was staring at a photo of Lila at school, clearly taken with a telephoto lens. You followed my daughter? Martha's composure cracked. I needed to know. Get out. Nathan's hands were shaking. "Get out before I forget you're my mother." After she left, silence filled the room. Nathan gathered the photos into a pile, movements mechanical. "I'll need copies of everything. For the restraining order." "Nathan," I started, but he cut me off. "Don't. Please." He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. "I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need to fix this. For Lila's sake, if nothing else." As he left, Henry touched my arm. "What now?" I watched Nathan's car pull away, thinking of all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep, doubting my own sanity. Now we make sure Martha never hurts another family again. Because some betrayals cut too deep for simple forgiveness. Some wounds could only be healed by justice. 3 days after confronting Martha, I found Lila crying in her room. Not the usual 9-year-old tears over scraped knees or playground disputes, but silent, shoulder-shaking sobs that made my heart splinter. "Baby, what's wrong?" I sat beside her, and she curled into me like she used to when she was smaller. "Jessica said." She hiccuped. "She said you're going to leave us like her mom left her family." The words hit like a physical blow. Jessica was Martha's next-door neighbor's daughter, and Martha's regular afternoon tea guest. "Who told Jessica that?" Lila wiped her eyes. "She said her mom heard it from Grandma Martha." "Is it true? Are you leaving?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Carol. "Check your email. You need to see this." I held Lila tighter, kissing her head. "No one is leaving anyone. Why don't you get ready for bed? I'll be right back to tuck you in." In the hallway, I opened Carol's email. It was a video from her security camera, showing Martha on Carol's porch yesterday. The audio was clear. "I'm just so worried about Lila," Martha's voice dripped concern. "With Aubrey's situation. The poor child needs stability. Nathan's considering custody arrangements." My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. She wasn't just spreading rumors anymore, she was laying groundwork. Building a case against me. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Paul, my father-in-law, shifting nervously on the porch. In 15 years of marriage, he'd never once visited without Martha. "I know it's late," he said when I opened the door. "But we need to talk." He pulled out a manila envelope, hands trembling slightly. "Martha doesn't know I found these. She's been planning this for months." Inside were printouts of emails between Martha and a family court lawyer discussing grounds for custody evaluation. Fabricated evidence of my instability. Witness statements, all from her coffee circle friends, about my concerning behavior. "Why are you showing me this?" My voice sounded distant, even to myself. Paul's shoulders sagged. "Because I failed Nathan by enabling her all these years. I won't fail my granddaughter too." "Dad?" Lila appeared at the top of the stairs, clutching Mr. Snuggles. "Grandpa Paul?" Paul's face crumpled. "Hello, sweetheart. Is everything okay?" No. Nothing was okay. My mother-in-law was trying to take my daughter. My marriage was in shambles. And somewhere in this mess, I'd lost sight of what mattered most, protecting Lila from all of it. "Everything's fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "Grandpa Paul just needed to drop something off." "Back to bed, honey." After she disappeared, Paul spoke quietly. "Martha's having lunch with the lawyer tomorrow. Noon at Le Petit Bistro." I understood what he wasn't saying. He was giving me a chance to get ahead of this. Why now? I asked. After all these years of staying silent? He touched the family photo on our wall last Christmas, all of us smiling, pretending everything was perfect. Because Martha's convinced herself she's protecting our family. But she's destroying it instead. He headed for the door, then paused. Whatever you do next, I'll testify if you need me to. After he left, I called my father. Dad? Remember when you said this was becoming a legal matter? We need to move faster. What happened? I stared at the custody documents, at Martha's carefully constructed web of lies. She's trying to take Lila. Silence, then, I'll make some calls. But Aubrey? This ends tomorrow. One way or another. I hung up and went to check on Lila. She was asleep, clutching Mr. Snuggles, the bear that started all this. I touched the spot where I'd found the first listening device, remembering how angry I'd been. That anger felt quaint now, compared to the cold fury settling in my bones. Martha wanted a war? Fine. But she'd forgotten something crucial. A mother protecting her child was the most dangerous opponent of all. Tomorrow at noon, she'd learn exactly how dangerous I could be. Le Petit Bistro buzzed with lunchtime chatter, but I barely heard it over the blood rushing in my ears. From my corner table, I watched Martha and her lawyer through the decorative partition. Their voices carried just enough. The surveillance evidence is compelling, the lawyer said, shuffling papers. Combined with the neighbor testimonies. And the psychological evaluation? Martha's perfectly manicured nails drummed the table. Already arranged. Judge Harrison owes me a favor. I pressed record on my phone, hidden beneath my napkin. Henry sat beside me, his presence steady and grounding. The restraining order complicates things, Martha continued. Nathan's weakness. Temporary setback, the lawyer assured her. Once we present evidence of your daughter-in-law's instability. My phone buzzed. A text from Carol, Martha's friends are at your house. Something about collecting evidence. The room tilted. I showed Henry the message. Go, he whispered. I'll handle things here. I was halfway to my car when Nathan called. Why is my mother's bridge club going through our house? You tell me. I gunned the engine. You gave them a key, didn't you? Silence. Then, they said they were dropping off casseroles. Because you've been struggling. Struggling? I laughed, harsh and broken. Your mother's at lunch with a lawyer right now, planning to take Lila from us. And you're still believing her lies? What lawyer? What are you? Ask your father. I hung up as I turned onto our street. For cars lined the curb, Martha's faithful followers, no doubt documenting my unstable home environment. They scattered like roaches when I burst through the door. Sandra, Martha's best friend, clutched a notebook. Patricia stood by the stairs, photographing something with her phone. Eleanor rushed past me, face flushed. Looking for evidence? I called after them. Here's some, breaking and entering. Harassment. Conspiracy. We're concerned about Lila, Sandra started. No. You're Martha's puppets. And you're all trespassing. They fled, but the damage was done. I found their handiwork upstairs, drawers left open, papers disturbed, photos removed from frames. They'd been thorough, searching for anything that could paint me as an unfit mother. Nathan arrived as I was documenting the invasion. Jesus Christ. Finally seeing it? I gestured at our violated home. Or do you need more proof of your mother's manipulation? He picked up a scattered photo, Lila's last birthday. I talked to Dad. About the lawyer, the custody plans. His voice cracked. How did we get here? You know how. Every time your mother crossed a line, you looked away. Every time she undermined me, you chose her side. And now. My phone buzzed again. Henry, got everything on tape. Martha confessed to fabricating evidence. Coming to you now. And now what? Nathan asked. I showed him the text. Now we end this. But I need to know whose side you're really on. He stared at the birthday photo, at our smiling faces frozen in happier times. I filed the restraining order against her. Isn't that enough? She's trying to take our daughter, Nathan. Legal action, manipulated evidence, false psychological evaluations. She's destroying our family, and you're still trying to find middle ground? His phone chimed, probably Martha, spinning more lies. He ignored it. What do you need me to do? Testify. I met his eyes. Against your mother. Help me protect our daughter. The front door opened, Henry arriving with the recording. Nathan's phone chimed again. The moment stretched, taut with possibility and heartbreak. I can't testify against her, he finally said. She's my mother. And there it was. The final betrayal. The last thread snapping. Then I'll do it alone. I turned away, throat burning. But understand something, after this, there's no going back. You're choosing your mother over your daughter's safety. Over our marriage. Aubrey. Get out. My voice was steady, even as tears threatened. I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody arrangements. The real ones, not your mother's version. As Nathan left, I touched the photo he dropped, our last happy moment as a family. Tomorrow, I'd use Martha's own tactics against her. Tomorrow, I'd fight for my daughter with everything I had. But tonight, I'd mourn what was lost. And prepare for war. The courthouse steps felt endless as I climbed them, clutching my evidence folder. Martha stood at the top with her lawyer, wearing victory like another designer outfit. Behind her, Nathan avoided my eyes. Last chance to be reasonable, Martha's lawyer called down. Drop the harassment claims, and we can discuss visitation rights. Visitation rights. For my own daughter. The words made me stumble, but Henry's hand steadied my elbow. Save it for the judge, he said. Inside, Martha's performance was flawless. Concerned grandmother, worried about her unstable daughter-in-law. Her lawyer presented photos of my ransacked house, the same house her friends had violated. Testimonies about my erratic behavior, watching my daughter's school, documenting conversations, growing increasingly paranoid. Then came the psychiatric evaluation. The one I'd never taken. As you can see, Your Honor, Martha's lawyer gestured at the forged report. Mrs. Wheeler exhibits classic signs of paranoid personality disorder. Objection, Henry started, but the judge was already nodding, examining the fraudulent papers. These are serious concerns, Judge Harrison said. The same judge who owed Martha's lawyer a favor. When Nathan took the stand, I held my breath. This was his chance, to tell the truth, to make things right. My wife. He paused, looking at his mother. She's been acting unstable. Accusing my mother of spying, claiming conspiracy. The rest of his testimony faded into white noise. I'd known he was weak, But this? This was betrayal beyond forgiveness. During the recess, I found him in the hallway. How much did she promise you? Full custody? Your inheritance? Aubrey, please. Mom's right, you need help. The only thing I need is for you to tell the truth. I am. But his eyes slid away. You're not well. The surveillance equipment you found, the accusations, the recordings. The recordings! I grabbed my phone, fumbling for the restaurant conversation. The proof that would expose everything. File not found. I checked again. And again. Everything, the recordings, the photos of the bugs, the neighbor's security footage, gone. Looking for something? Martha appeared beside us, her smile razor sharp. Technology can be so unreliable. Phones getting wiped, cloud accounts being hacked. It's tragic, really. The floor seemed to tilt. She'd gotten to my phone. Somehow, she'd erased everything. Back in court, it all unraveled. Without evidence, my claims sounded delusional. Each witness, Martha's carefully coached friends, painted a picture of a woman spiraling into paranoia. Given the evidence presented, Judge Harrison intoned, I'm granting temporary custody to the father, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Wheeler. Pending completion of psychiatric evaluation and treatment. The words hit like physical blows. Temporary custody. Supervised visitation. For my own daughter. Additionally, a restraining order will be issued, preventing Mrs. Wheeler from coming within 500 feet of her mother-in-law. Martha's smile widened. She'd won. Completely. In the courthouse bathroom, I splashed water on my face, trying to breathe. The door opened, Martha, coming to gloat. I want you to understand something, she said, checking her lipstick in the mirror. This was never about Lila. This was about Nathan. About family loyalty. Loyalty? My laugh sounded hysterical even to me. You destroyed your son's marriage. You're traumatizing your granddaughter. I'm protecting them. From you. She turned, mask dropping. You were never good enough for my son. Never part of this family. Now everyone sees what I've always known, you're unstable. Dangerous. The truth will come out. What truth? Your evidence is gone. Your credibility is shot. Even Nathan thinks you're losing your mind. She patted my cheek. Take the psychiatric help, dear. It's your only chance to see Lila again. She left me there, gripping the sink, watching my world crumble in the mirror. Outside, Lila would be waiting. My daughter, who I couldn't hug without supervision. Who would be told her mother was sick, dangerous, crazy. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, need help? Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Carter Park. Come alone. I stared at the message, remembering Martha's smirk, Nathan's betrayal, the judge's condemning words. I had nothing left to lose. Sometimes, rock bottom is where you find your strength. Or where you completely shatter. Tomorrow would decide which. Carter Park was empty at 10 a.m. except for a familiar figure on a bench, Paul, my father-in-law, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I made copies, he said without preamble, holding out a USB drive. Of everything. Martha's emails, bank records, the surveillance equipment purchases. Even the payment to the judge. My hands shook as I took it. Why now? Because yesterday, I watched my wife destroy an innocent woman to control our son. And I watched our son let it happen. A car door slammed nearby. Martha strode across the park, face twisted with rage. Paul! What are you doing? He stood, shoulders straight. What I should have done years ago. You're betraying your family? She reached for the USB drive, but I stepped back. Family? Paul's voice cracked. You destroyed our family. Every time you drove away Nathan's girlfriends. Every time you manipulated him. And now this, falsifying evidence, bribing a judge? I protected him. Protected us. Martha's composure cracked. She was going to take him away, just like all the others. No, Martha. You took him away. From everyone who ever loved him. Nathan appeared at the park entrance, drawn by his mother's rising voice. He froze, seeing us all there. It's over, I said, holding up the drive. Everything's here, the wiretaps, the fake psychiatric report, the bribed judge. Your mother's whole operation. Nathan, darling, Martha started, but Paul cut her off. Tell him, Martha. Tell him about the other women. How many potential daughters-in-law have you driven away? How many lives have you ruined? She's lying to you, Paul, Nathan said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Mom would never. The teddy bear bug? I interrupted. That was ordered through Maxwell's security. Paid for with your mother's credit card. The fake psychiatric evaluation? Written by her bridge partner's nephew. The judge? Received a generous donation to his re-election campaign 3 days before our hearing. Martha lunged for the drive. I dodged, and she stumbled, mask finally shattering completely. You ungrateful bitch. After everything I've done for this family. Done for this family? Paul's quiet voice cut through her rage. You mean like having our son's college girlfriend committed to a psychiatric facility? Or spreading rumors about his law school sweetheart until she left the state? Nathan staggered like he'd been hit. What? Sarah Martinez, Paul continued. Rebecca Chen. And now Aubrey. All unstable. All dangerous. All driven away because they threatened your control. I did it for you. Martha grabbed Nathan's arm. They weren't good enough. None of them understood family loyalty like we do. Loyalty? Nathan pulled away. You made me think my wife was crazy. You tried to take my daughter away. To protect you. Everything I did was for yourself, I finished. But it's done now. The evidence goes to the ethics board tomorrow. The judge will face investigation. Your friends will be charged with breaking and entering. You can't prove anything. Paul stepped forward. I can. I've watched you destroy lives for 30 years, Martha. I kept quiet, made excuses. No more. Martha's face contorted. She turned to Nathan, reaching for him. Darling, please. But Nathan was staring at the USB drive, at the proof of his mother's manipulation. At the wreckage of his marriage, his family, his trust. I choose my daughter, he said quietly. I choose my wife. Martha crumpled, decades of control slipping away. But I felt no satisfaction, no triumph. Only exhaustion and a deep, aching sadness for the family she destroyed. The restraining order stays, I told her. But this time, it's real. Stay away from my daughter. Stay away from my family. As we left the park, Paul to his car, Nathan to his mother's side despite everything, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about destroying your enemy. Sometimes, it was about finally breaking free. Tomorrow, I'd rebuild my life. But today, watching Martha sob on a park bench, I understood that she'd lost far more than I ever could have taken from her. She'd lost everything. And she had no one to blame but herself. The judge's revised custody ruling sat unopened on my kitchen counter while Lila played in the backyard of our new home. Through the window, I watched her showing Mr. Snuggles, newly restored and bug-free, how to do cartwheels. My phone buzzed. Nathan. Did you get the envelope? Just arrived. I won't contest whatever it says. His voice was tired, heavy with the weight of recent months. You deserve full custody after everything. I watched Lila tumble in the grass, her laughter carrying through the open window. She needs her father, Nathan. Even if I can't trust her husband anymore. The doorbell rang. Paul stood on the porch, holding a cardboard box. Found these while packing up the house, he said, setting it down. Thought you should have them. Inside were photo albums, birthday cards, wedding memories, pieces of a life Martha had tried to erase. And beneath them, a leather-bound journal. Martha's, Paul explained. I think you should read it. Later that night, after Lila was asleep, I opened the journal. Martha's precise handwriting filled pages with familiar names: Sarah Martinez, Rebecca Chin, all Nathan's previous relationships. Each entry detailed perceived threats, planned interventions, calculated destructions. Then I found my name. Aubrey fights back, she'd written. The others gave up, walked away. She's dangerous, she'll take Nathan from me. I can't lose another child. Not after James. I called Paul. Who's James? Silence crackled across the line. Nathan's twin brother. He died when they were 3. Martha. She never recovered. Started seeing threats everywhere. Became obsessed with controlling Nathan, protecting him. Understanding didn't bring forgiveness, but it brought something else: release. Martha wasn't just a monster, she was a broken woman who turned her pain into poison. The next morning, I opened the custody ruling. Joint custody, with conditions: Nathan would attend therapy, Martha would maintain the restraining order. And our family counselor would oversee transitions. As I drove Lila to her father's house, she clutched Mr. Snuggles. Is Grandma Martha sick? She asked suddenly. In a way, honey. Sometimes people get hurt inside, and they hurt others because they're scared. Like when I pushed Jenny at school because I was scared of losing my best friend. My throat tightened. Something like that. Nathan waited in his driveway, not our old house, but a small rental across town. Away from Martha's influence. Dad! Lila ran to him, bear tucked under her arm. I found Martha's journal, I said quietly while Lila explored Nathan's new garden. About James. He stiffened. I barely remember him. But Mom. She remembers everything. Every day, every moment. It doesn't excuse what she did. No. He watched Lila examining a butterfly bush. But maybe it explains it. The therapist says. Nathan. I touched his arm, the first contact in months. I'm not interested in Martha's healing journey. I'm interested in our daughters. He nodded, understanding the boundaries being drawn. She's lucky to have you as her mother. And her father, I added, surprising myself with the sincerity. When he remembers to be one. That evening, I sat in my new garden, reading Martha's journal one last time. Not for revenge or validation, but to understand the shape of the wound that had nearly destroyed my family. The last entry was recent. I see now what I've become. What I've lost. Nathan, James, everything. Perhaps this is my punishment, to finally recognize the monster in the mirror. I closed the journal and watched the sunset paint my garden gold. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, co-parenting with Nathan, helping Lila understand, building a life from the ashes of the old one. But tonight, I understood something vital. True justice isn't about making others suffer. It's about breaking cycles of pain before they poison another generation. I took Martha's journal inside, placing it on a high shelf. Not to keep, not to use, but to remember, sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to become what hurt you.